Over in Europe, NATO allies are refusing to back U.S. President Donald Trump's plan to blockade the Strait of Hormuz, deepening divisions within the alliance after failed talks with Iran. Britain and France say they will instead pursue diplomatic efforts to restore navigation, as the United Nations calls for continued dialogue and respect for international law. Our Seung-jae has more.
NATO allies are refusing to join U.S. President Donald Trump's plan to blockade the Strait of Hormuz, signaling they will only intervene after active fighting ends, a move that could deepen tensions within the alliance. The announcement comes after weekend talks failed to resolve the 6-week conflict with Iran. Trump said the U.S. military would work with partners to block all maritime traffic through the critical waterway, which handles roughly a fifth of global oil supplies. However, key NATO members, including Britain and France, pushed back, saying they would not participate in the blockade. Instead, they are preparing a separate initiative to reopen the strait and ensure safe navigation once hostilities subside. Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer said the UK and France will co-host talks this week aimed at restoring freedom of navigation in the strait.
And, Mr. Speaker, I can confirm today that together with President Macron, I will convene a summit of leaders this week to drive forward the international effort we have built in recent weeks, bringing together dozens of countries to ensure freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz.
He stressed that the talks will focus mainly on diplomatic efforts to bring pressure to bear for a negotiated end to the conflict and for the strait to be opened, and military planning to provide assurance to shipping as soon as a stable environment can be established. French President Emmanuel Macron also announced plans for a multinational mission to coordinate naval escorts and establish rules for safe passage through the waterway. At the United Nations, Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for a continued dialogue between the United States and Iran following talks in Islamabad that ended without agreement. UN spokesperson Stéphane Dujarric said on Monday that the recent discussions were a positive step toward renewed diplomacy, despite ongoing differences.
Given the deeply rooted differences, an agreement cannot be reached overnight, and the Secretary General calls on the talks to continue constructively in order for an agreement to be reached.
He also urged all sides to respect ceasefire efforts and uphold international law, including the principle of freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. Seung-jae, ArirangNews.